Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Bag Lady Show. We are so very, very happy that you've joined us. This is our very first episode. We're really excited about it. And first, I want to introduce to you my lovely co-host, my daughter, Shonna Jordan.
Woohoo! Hi, thank you for being here with all of us today. This is exciting to start and give you a journey with us through selling bags and helping people.
Yes, exactly. And as you can see in the background, we're going to be selling bags and hope that you will go online to thebagladyshow.com and buy one of them. They're very high quality, and we got a great variety of them. And they're going to go for a cause. It's not just, hey, I want a pretty handbag or a purse. You're going to get that, but you're also going to get to give to a great cause. Causes that help women, not only in the United States, but around the world. And as you know, women many times are marginalized and many times they aren't given a fair shake. But we want to level the playing field, so to speak. But more than that, we really just want to share compassion. And we want to get you in on that because we're all going to find fun and purpose. And we're going to really be able to help a lot of people, aren't we, Shonna?
Oh, exactly. And so our motto is buy a bag, help a cause, change a life. So we're going to be going on this together, doing things to help change lives. And we're so glad you're here with us.
We just want to take a little bit of time on our first show to share with you how we got to this point. Why are we having the Bag Lady Show? Why do we want to help people? What caused that to come about in our lives? And for me, it really started when I was 5 years old. I had a teacher who loved to travel. And every week she would take us on imaginary journeys all around the world. And one day we came into class and she said, today we are going on a safari to Africa. And the light bulb went off. And from then on, Africa was just here in my heart. And I knew someday that I would go. I didn't know when or where or how or why or any of those. But even at 5 years old, it just stuck with me. Well, I went on to kind of lead a so-called normal American life back in the 60s and 70s. And I met a really great guy in high school. We were just kids. He was the big man on campus, you know, the athlete and crazy good looking and nice. And I was a cheerleader and we fell in love and did a really crazy thing. We got married right out of high school. Don't recommend that. But 40 years later, we're very, very, very grateful that we have a wonderful family in marriage. Not perfect, but so we went on to college and got our degrees and came back. We went to Grand Canyon University in Phoenix, came back to Farmington after we graduated. And my husband, Andy, got into the fire service here in a small town where we still live, Farmington, New Mexico. And we had our first daughter, Shonna, in 1980. And then our second daughter came along in 1986. I spent then the next about 20 or so years in music, singing, writing, and recording, and raising the girls. And we just had we have so many great memories, and very thankful to have a great family, even a supportive family here in our small community. And it's really, really wonderful. And Shonna was a really, really gifted athlete. And so I want her to share a little bit about her softball days and how that kind of led into going to Africa. And so I'm going to let her share a little bit about that experience.
Yeah, and growing up, one of the things that really stuck with me was my parents were always in service. So my mother would do songs and funerals or weddings and different occasions for free for people through her music ministry. My dad was always helping people who needed a hand outside of work. And that really shaped me. And so at 6 years old, I started playing softball, a very young age, and loved it, fell in love with it, and really started doing it competitively. And that became a big drive for me, a big passion. And I grew up in a youth group. And there was one time when I was about 12 years old, a girl had come back from Africa in the youth group. And she just told us about the people and the culture. And I fell in love. And I just knew I'm going to Africa someday. I just know I'm going to go. I want to go to Africa. And I didn't really think about it much. Continued with softball and received a scholarship to play college ball in California. And one day after practice, we were all on the bleachers taking off our cleats and just getting finished with a practice. And two ladies came over and they said, "Hey, ladies, we are going to be going to Africa. We want to take girls to play softball and do mission work." And boom, there was my first ticket at 18 years old to go to Africa. And so I went and fell in love immediately with Africa. And when I came home, my mom was just asking me, what's it like? What's the food like? What are the animals like? And the only thing I could say was, we got to do something to help the orphans, Mom. We've got to do something to help the orphans. And so in hearing that, it only took my mom a matter of a year. She put together a team. And at 19, I went on my second trip to Africa with my mom.
So I'll never forget when we stepped off of the airplane and we found an orphanage to help in Nairobi, Kenya. And here we are. I have 15 volunteers in tow to do this for the next couple of weeks. But I'll never forget this experience when I stepped off of the airplane in Kenya. I remember thinking to myself, so this is what it feels like to be home. And somehow, when I breathed my first breath of Kenya African air, I just knew, oh, this is home. This is where I'm supposed to be. This is where I'm called to be. And that little experience when I was 5, it just planted that seed. And when I stepped off of that airplane, it was just instant. Well, for the next quite a few years, I continued taking teams, and we worked in orphanages in the slums of Nairobi. And I started an organization called National Day of Care. And the goal of that organization was to establish a national day, actually around Valentine's Day, to get people involved in orphans and AIDS. At that time, orphans and AIDS in Africa was the biggest tragedy maybe the world has ever seen. About 80 million orphans in Africa due to AIDS. The whole continent was being destroyed. By AIDS. It was just a really, really terrible situation. So I said, man, we got to do something about this. We can't let a whole continent just die like that and millions and millions of children not have parents. We got to do something about that. So I started this organization to establish a national day. We were going along pretty good until the year 2008. Now, if you will recall, in 2008, the world went through almost a Great Depression, but a very, very deep recession. And what that does to organizations like ours, in particular, and it's happening right now with COVID too, is that we're the first ones to get cut out of people's budgets. And it's understandable, when you're out of work or you've got your you got your hours cut back, or you've lost half of what's in your investments and your 401ks. Hey, we can't write this check to National Day of Care anymore. So one day I opened up the bank statement, and I think we had a whopping $60 left. And I knew that, wow, it's all over. There's really nothing else we could do. We have no money. So for a couple of years, I just I couldn't close down the organization. I just didn't have the heart to do it. I didn't feel led to do it, whatever it might be. And a couple of years, just kind of hung in there. And then in the year 2010, our youngest daughter was working on her degree in social work, her master's degree in social work. And she needed one more credit to finish up her degree. Couldn't find one. And so I said, well, why don't you go to Kenya and do an independent study? Hey, sounds good. She got with her professor, that worked it all out. And then I said, listen, since we're taking you, why don't we ask a few other students if they want to go along? So we did. One of them was a young man who had just gotten back from serving in the military. And he said, I'm really excited about going to the slums and working with the kids and with all the orphans, but I want to build something too. And so I made some calls, and I got connected with two men by the name of Shem and Jared Okello. And in Kenya, in the year 2008, 2009, they had experienced post-election violence. They basically had civil war. And because so many people had been displaced from their homes, hundreds of thousands of them, they said, we got to do something about this. So they went back to their home village, and they came up with an idea of building homes for people who had been displaced. And they hadn't really done one yet, but they had a vision to do that. And they came up with an amazing thing where they were able to build one for $400.
A whole home.
In one day.
For $400.
So when we were there, we went down to where their village is. It's in the western part of Kenya. And we built the first home. And it was an incredible experience. And we had, so much fun interacting with the villagers. We all came together, and it was like in the old Americana when you did a barn raising. We came, they came, we put it up, and they fed us, and it was just a great experience. So when we came home from that, though, I still had every intention of, hey, I got to shut this thing down. We can't go on anymore. Well, I thought, before I send a letter to my supporters telling them this, I'm going to tell them about this $400 house. I just want to see maybe what the reaction is, or at least to share it with them. And maybe some of them would like to build some. So I sent out a newsletter, and checks started showing up in the mail, or phones started ringing. How do we get in on this $400 house? And before we knew it, we were back on our feet again. And not only, this is another thing that surprised me, not only were people just like over the moon with this $400 house, but Americans also wanted to go to Kenya to build these houses. I never would have thought that Americans would want to do something like that, but boy, they did. So we began to take teams. Lots of teams to go over and build these houses, and also do a lot of other work in schools and hospitals and working with women and all kinds of things. And so we're going to share with you some opportunities on the Bag Lady Show in the next weeks and months to come. You might be interested in going on a volunteer trip with us to see the work, some of the work that we're doing, and some of the work that our handbags are going to be financing. But I'd also like for Shonna to talk about the impact that those volunteer trips had on her children.
Yeah. So, another thing that I really wanted in my life and was passionate about was I really wanted to be an amazing mom and an amazing wife. And when that didn't work out and the boy's dad and I did separate, I knew that it was going to be really hard on my boys emotionally to go through something like a divorce. And I realized, how can I help them process and go through these hard times? And I just thought, you know what? Take them to Africa. It has changed my life. Let's take them and let them see this whole new culture, this whole new world at a younger age, so they could start to process and see how they live in America is different than how other people live around the world. And so I've been able to take my boys 4 summers, and they have fallen in love. Mm-hmm. They have a second home. We go there, and it's like a huge community of people, a tribe of people that surround you and love you. And the relationships over there are just so beautiful and nurturing. And so that has been a very important thing to me, that I've been able to take them and hopefully continue to take them. So I encourage people out there with children, families, single parents, whatever age or generation, it is life-changing. It is something we think we're going over there to help others, and then we come back and we're completely changed. So that's been very special for me as a mom.
Yes. And that's one of the big things that we want to share about our show, is that we want people to have purpose. And you don't have purpose by living a self-indulgent life. Where you really find purpose is getting in on your gifts and helping others. And so that's one of the big messages that we want to get across to everyone, to go on their own journey and find out where they can get plugged in. It's not always going to be Africa. It can be across the street or in your community. And so that's one of the greatest things that we have found in our own lives, is the huge blessing that we get and the purpose that we get from doing what we do and being able to help others. That's where real joy and real purpose comes from. We have built now over 5,000 homes.
Whew!
Yeah.
Wait a minute. How many?
5,000.
Over 5,000 homes.
And, it just makes a huge difference. Going from being homeless to having a home. And we built a little $400 house, and it is an African house, 2-bedroom, and it's mud, but we put a thatched roof on it, and it means as much to them as our homes mean to us. But we also do a lot of other things, as I mentioned earlier, with hospitals and schools and education and health and also water. So we really are excited about sharing with you the way that you can get involved and join with us on our journey. And we're so excited to have you along. And we look forward to building our own tribe of people that are going to help people, particularly women, helping women. And we're going to change the world, not just in Africa, though, also in our back doors.
So on the Bag Lady Show, if you go to thebagladyshow.com, there's going to be a bunch of handbags, purses, different types of items to buy a bag, help a cause, and change a life. So what are these causes that these bags are supporting?
We have found in our work over 20 years in Africa and in third world countries, but also in the United States, we've been able to identify some of the major factors that are really difficult to deal with, particularly for women. So we've identified 3 top ones. The first one is housing. You have to stabilize people with a home. And not only are the proceeds from the bags going to go to build our $400 house in Africa, but they're also going to help people, women, children in America who find themselves maybe in a situation where they're behind on their mortgage, they're about to be evicted, or maybe a woman is in an abusive situation. She needs to get out of that. So we're going to be supporting those types of causes for people that need shelter, women who need shelter in the United States, and helping battered women's shelters and homeless shelters, and helping women too that just need a little bit of assistance, maybe for a few months with some rent or some other assistance. So number one, housing, affordable housing. And the $400 house is certainly affordable housing.
Absolutely.
But the second one is water. Water really is the number one issue in third world countries. Over 2 billion people on this planet
2 billion.
Billion with a B do not have access to clean water. And the people disproportionately who have to haul that water every day, the task around the world is given primarily to women and girls.
And these girls, you know, they have to go before the sun comes up, go fetch the water, bring it back, get it hot for cooking, do different things before they even go to school. Some of these girls even have to prostitute their bodies just to get this water. So it is a huge issue.
It's a huge issue. And let me tell you another staggering thing. 200 million hours every day around this planet is spent hauling water. 200 million hours a day. Really, it's wasted, okay? These girls and women, they walk all day long. And so guess what? They can't go to school. They don't have time to go to school. And so water is a key issue. We're going to be doing water projects particularly starting in Africa, but we're going to expand as opportunities arise to build homes and to do water projects in other places. But so housing, number 2, water. Number 3 is education. Education is not free for the most part in third world countries. And a lot of these children are orphans. They can't afford the school fees, tuition. They can't afford books. They can't afford uniforms. And so they don't get to they don't get to go to school. What happens when you don't get to go to school? You lose out on opportunities in life. And so education is huge. And also we're adding economic education. And we partner with some people who we will be sharing more about that in episodes to come, but also economic education to American women. Most women don't know how to even get themselves out of poverty or low income, even in the United States. And there are ways, and we're going to be sharing that with you. So these beautiful bags behind us are bags that we're going to be selling on our online store. Go to thebagladyshow.com. And you're going to see these wonderful bags that you can purchase. And the proceeds from them are going to go to help these projects. These are quality bags. And we really are excited about the variety we have. Whether you're 20 years old, we got some that will appeal to you, or 75 years old. And, women love bags. I was shocked about some of the statistics that I read about bags. But it's a $10 billion industry in the United States, a $50 billion industry a year around the world. And so we want you to buy bags from us, okay? And
and know that it's going for a good
That's right.
cause.
So you get a bag, and a beautiful bag, and also it's going to go for a great cause.
Yeah, and as being a part of this tribe, we're so excited to have you here. Other ways that you can help us grow this is to like us and follow us on Facebook, share our posts, join in on some of the things we're going to ask you to do with us and tag us on it. Go to our Instagram, YouTube, subscribe to our YouTube, and then also give us a recommendation on the Apple Podcasts, just so we can start getting this out here. And that's one of the ways you can help give back to us as well. And we appreciate every single one of you coming along this journey with us.
Let me tell you just a little bit about next week's show. And we're going to have this every Thursday night, 9 p.m. Eastern Time, 6 p.m. Pacific Time. And our next week's guest is going to be a relational coach. His name is Ron Price. He started an organization called Productive Outcomes. He is a motivational speaker, and he is also an author of a book that is awesome called How to Play Nice in the Sandbox. So we're still going to be in February. We're going to still be talking about relationships, and we're still going to be learning a lot about that. and you'll be hearing more about our cause. So,
hey, I'm excited for this episode and all the other ones we have lined up. This is just going to be such a fun journey together. So join us
every Thursday night.
Every Thursday night, the Bag Ladies, and buy a bag
and help a cause and
change a life.